2024. This is the Kearney Board of Aldermen meeting. Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Shirley, you've had a chance to take roll.
I have taken roll. Everybody's present and you have a quorum.
We have no public hearings this evening. First item under personal appearances is Mr. Bill Scholl here to request approval for fireworks discharge permit for July 3rd, 2024 for his annual fireworks display in Beverly Park. Mr. Scholl, you have the floor.
I am here again. It's my annual pilgrimage, although I'm a little wetter tonight than other nights. But I would ask that you go ahead and approve my permit for the night as in the past.
Any questions from the board? Okay, I believe the formal approval will be in our consent agenda, Mr. Scholl. So we're going to read a quick proclamation and then we'll consider the consent agenda if you want to hang tidy for a minute or so.
That will be great. All
right.
I'll sit back and enjoy it.
All right, thank you, sir. Move on to the Arbor Day proclamation.
A proclamation celebrating Kearney, Missouri Arbor Day 2024. Whereas in 1872, the Nebraska Board of Agriculture established a special day to be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas trees can be a solution to combating climate change by reducing the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderating the temperature, cleaning the air, producing life-giving oxygen, and providing habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now therefore, I, Randy Pogue, Mayor of Kearney, Missouri, do hereby proclaim Friday, April 5th, 2024 as Arbor Day in the city of Kearney, Missouri, and I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations.
Great. Thank you for that. Was a resolution as a proclamation, so no formal approval or anything else needs to be done there. Next is the consent agenda. Are there any items of discussion or questions on the consent agenda this evening? Seeing none, if we can entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda passes. Mr. Scholl, you're good to go. You're more than welcome to stay, or now's a good time to...
It's okay with the aldermen. I'm going to enjoy the electrifying world of the Board of Aldermen.
We're happy to. We have no ordinances this evening, no resolutions, no items for presentation, which gets us to mayor's communication. I do have 2 items I want to discuss this evening. One is tomorrow is our municipal election for the city of Kearney. So from the frequent voters reports that I've been able to pull from the election board, only 7 to 10% of our registered voters in Kearney are frequent voters. So it's the same 7 to 10% of people making important decisions in our community every year. So I encourage and ask everybody to get out and vote tomorrow. Make your voice heard. Second item is I've been contacted by Tim Harris a few times, the most recent as of today. I have here at the dais for the board members. He's looking, wanting to have a conversation and early conversation about doing some temporary parking on the ground that he owns right behind Orscheln's at the Sandbar Roundabout to convert roughly 10 acres of that ground on a 3-month approximately temporary basis with a gravel base to allow some temporary parking for Ford Motor Company, the Claycoma branch. I'm sure you've seen some of their parking at Worlds of Fun in Pleasant Valley at the old
Harno.
what was it? R&L Carriers Facility, that's what it is. I believe our city code requires hard surface, even if we do allow temporary for gravel. I think the only people we allow that for currently are fireworks tents. So I know we're not prepared for a full formal approval process. My intention is not to circumvent our formal approval process, but I did want to just bring it up this evening and give the board the opportunity to share your thoughts, allow staff to share their thoughts and concerns, and then that way we can get back to Mr. Harris. So we're talking roughly 10 acres in an area that's currently zoned agriculture. I think I asked him, does he know how many cars will be temporarily parked there? He does not. I asked him about security and things, and most of those facilities have tall fencing and barbed wire. He would have to put, to be compliant with Ford, he'd have to put security fencing all the way around the perimeter. And I asked him about access to the property, and he mentions access would be right off of 92 and Sandbar Drive roundabout at the roundabout. I think that would require some approvals from MoDOT. I don't think it would be a fast approval process. But I wanted to give the board an opportunity to.
Does he have any other access to that property?
I think there is an access off of Nation Road, but then, I mean, it wouldn't be I mean, I don't think he could get the vehicles back to where he wants to park them from there. But that would be a question that we'd have, I don't want to answer for him.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to deal with MoDOT if you did that.
Unless they came in off of North Country.
Yeah, then you gotta go across Shanks land.
Yeah, that's private property right there.
Don't know if Shanks will let him do that.
Along Nation Road, there's quite a draw through there.
Right, there is.
Yeah.
It'd be difficult to get driveway through.
What, David, while we're talking about, so there's nothing really in our code that allows this type of temporary, so I assume a special use permit would have to be considered. I mean, it's not zoned currently for that, so what would even the approval process for something like this look
Well, I'd say
like?
probably be treated like a parking lot, so some kind of a site plan review. There'd be land disturbance permit required. Probably want to look at stormwater also, because that would be 10 acres of hard surfacing, so there'll be a lot of runoff. Even if it's gravel, there's still a lot of hard surface runoff created from that. So it's more than just laying up gravel and.
His graphic here that he emailed to me today, which I've got a copy of for each of the board members, it says something like a 7% estimated grade, less than 7%.
You got water retention up there at all right now?
Right now, no.
No.
It's undeveloped ground.
It's undeveloped.
Yeah, there are a couple
Raw
of ponds,
ground.
I think, on the property.
Yeah, I didn't know if maybe he could put a swale too.
There's some existing.
Seems like a
Because
lot
do some
of
dirt
work
work
for
anyway,
a 3-month
So no doubt.
process, for sure. But Carolyn, do you have anything to add, or Donnie, or anybody else, so we could maybe get back to Mr. Harris?
I believe the property would have to be rezoned also to accommodate this use. So that would be another.
What is on right now,
process.
agricultural?
It's
Agriculture.
Yeah, it's still got a county designation because it was annexed in a couple years ago, but
Yeah.
not rezoned when it was annexed.
My only other concern would be the gravel parking. If you change that for one person, I'd have to allow it for another.
Yeah, it's fair. We've required other businesses to do hard surface front.
On the fireworks side, as part of our fireworks permit, we require that they remove, so after the fireworks period, as part of their cleanup, they gotta remove the.
Yeah, we've done this temporary gravel with the fireworks thing. I would say the same thing with Tim. If we did that, he'd have to remove that gravel after
Absolutely.
3 months or whatever.
Restore it back to its
Yeah.
previous state, yeah.
In a DNR and standpoint, you're gonna have a lot of limestone runoff from that gravel, and 10 acres is a lot. So you're gonna have infiltration into the waterway, might be a concern.
Okay.
EPA.
Sounds like the consensus of the board, would the board be okay if I direct Mr. Harris or one of his employees to staff and they can continue the conversation? And staff can let Mr. Harris know exactly what would be needed for the board and planning and zoning to consider the process.
I do assume that the piece on the east side of I-35 is not under consideration.
No, I noticed that there was some,
Between what? The
Yeah.
car wash and.
no, you can see here on the email that he sent me, yeah, he says this is an area, when he originally called me the first time, it was this 10 acres specific. It wasn't, I don't know what this is highlighted for, maybe for a different purpose or project.
What if he did Stallings Farm? 10 acres down there instead. That'd be easier to get through, and,
Come off the interstate and right up to it.
yeah.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
The only thing that I'd also like to add for consideration is this wouldn't add any benefit, anything to our tax base, but it would put additional burden on because there will be wear and tear on city streets with no offsetting benefit of revenues generated.
Well, I may include additional police as well.
My experience with these types of storage facilities is that they're rife with theft. I won't go into great detail in public forum about it, but they routinely,
leave
if
the
there's no
keys in the
surveillance
vehicles?
there, if it's out away from anything, they drive right through the fence. You can put up a 10-foot fence with a concertina wire. They will literally cut the fence and drive through the fence with the cars, and they're all brand-new cars. They've never been registered, have never been titled, and they disappear. I won't go into great detail, but I've worked a couple of these cases, and they're a nightmare. You can't track them. So, and they all know when the new ones go up. So it's like a magnet. And that would be my input. I don't think he's wanting to pay somebody to be out there 24/7 as far as security is concerned. I doubt that very seriously. And if it's out away from an area like you're talking about, it's going to be really hard to secure. You're talking lights, you're talking, I mean, even if they put a 10-foot fence up, it won't stop them. What's the big deterrent is at Worlds of Fun, they have security, they have a lot of lighting around the area, it's not dark and everything. In a lot of the other areas, like in Pleasant Valley, that's very well lit, well-traveled, and well-patrolled. It would put a big additional burden on the police department.
Okay.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Anything else from the board or staff? That concludes my mayor's remarks. City administrator report.
The only thing I have is that the next regular board meeting will be on Monday, April 15th at 6:30 p.m.
Alderman discussion. Alderman Barger.
I would just encourage everybody to be at the polls tomorrow.
Alderman Lehman.
I would echo, tomorrow is election day and there's lots of things on the ballot, so it's time to get out and exercise your right.
Alderman Holt.
I agree. It's time to vote. I'm always disappointed that we only get like 10% of our people to vote. So I don't know how to get more people out, but I hope we get more than 10% of the people to vote.
Alderman Switzer.
Not much left to say except ditto.
All right. That concludes our meeting. If we could entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting at 6:44.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.